What's up, podcast listeners? It's Andy and Drew here, back with your favorite Casselberry related podcast, the What's Up Casselberry podcast. We're in episode number 20. Wow, big celebrations all around. We've made it to 20, episode 20. Well, welcome to the podcast. Andy and I are Casselberry residents. We're local pastors who desire to have casual conversations on this podcast each and every Tuesday for the good of the people of Casselberry, about Casselberry-related issues, and including guests and friends who are involved with Casselberry. And there's no greater guest and friends than our second of two-part a conversation with City Manager Randy Newlon and City Commissioner Bill Hufford. We're thrilled to have them back for a second consecutive week. Let me throw it now to Andy. Andy, what's going on, my friend? How are you today? How's your summer going?
How's my summer going? What kind of a question is that? We're coming out of a pandemic, deep transition in our world as we seek justice. It has been a summer like no other. Honestly, I don't even realize that it's summer yet. It's other than the rain coming every afternoon. But yeah, what a strange time. But you're right. It's June. Summer's here. We've got a little family vacation coming up. My in-laws are coming down, and my brother-in-law and sister-in-law are going to join us as well. And we're hoping to go to the beach for a week. We've got some stuff planned. But again, I think if 2020 has taught us anything, it's that we just need to hold our plans loosely right now.
Absolutely. And it's interesting. So you're doing a family vacation. Now, can you, if there's maybe family members that you're not as close with as others, can you just say, I've got to socially distance from you? Is that appropriate to do?
Let me just say that's a nice card to have in my pocket. At the end of a long day, I love my in-laws. I'm really, really blessed in that respect. But at the end of a long day, yeah, hey guys, I just need some social distancing time, and maybe I can excuse myself that way. But yeah, we're a family. We want to hang out, so we're going to do it. I think in this time. And again, I don't mean to be insensitive to the difficulty and pain of COVID. I think we're realizing that there are some things more important for some of us than getting sick. We're seeing all these protests where people are saying, hey, there's a cause I really need to fight for, and I care for the cause more than I do getting sick. And I'm not saying that's right. I'm saying it's just an interesting phenomenon, right? But anyway, my family's healthy, and we're looking forward to hanging out. What about you? You got any plans for vacation as a family of three now?
Yeah, we, because of his age, our son is 1 month old. We are not traversing too far. We have a couple of plans to go over to the Gulf side to visit my parents. My parents recently moved into a new house, and so Jalen will look forward to spending time with Grandma and Grandpa there. As far as going back to the other coast, to the beach, we enjoy the beach. New Smyrna is where we like to spend some weekends. So mostly just staying in Florida, kind of figuring life out, doing the social distance thing. But more and more, we're having dinners with folks. We had some friends, so small group over recently, and it's been good. So we're looking forward to the summer.
Awesome. Well, I hope you have a wonderful time. Slowly, things are getting back to normal. And I don't know about you. I'm sure you're the same. But I really need a vacation. This has been one of the hardest seasons of leadership, I think, in my 20-something years of ministry. And I'm looking forward to some late mornings and beach time and quality conversations and all that.
It has. I agree. And, that ties in really to our next section. It feels like there is constant bombardment of news. There's regularly subjects of one thing or another that is impacting us and impacting other people. And it is heavy. And to that end, we normally on this podcast like to have, conversations back and forth, talking about local Casselberry related topics. But in lieu of our conversation with City Manager Newlon and City Commissioner Bill Hufford, we are taking a brief pause. We'll be back next week with our Casselberry in the News segment I'm sure Andy's got some amazing, interesting.
Hey, well, who knows what the news will be next week, right?
Who knows? Yep. So we'll do that next week. But for now, let's take a listener question. For those of you who have not checked this out before, we love to hear from our listeners. Each and every week, Andy and I take a moment to receive questions from our audience. You can reach out to us on our podcast feed, our Facebook page, our Instagram feed. Leave us a question or a comment. They're all titled What's Up Casselberry, or you can go to our website, whatsupcasselberry.com. whatsupcasselberry.com. There you can find our About section. You can see the history of the podcast, some of our sponsors and friends, as well as past episodes, and even this episode that you're listening to currently. Thank you to producer Robin for all of her efforts in making our website so amazing. So we love to hear from you. And today's question is read this way. It says, how have you guys seen this podcast now that we're, I guess, 20 episodes in? People want to know, how are we doing in regards to accomplishing the goal of helping people listen, connect, and engage in Casselberry? Do you have any particular success stories to this point? Andy, any metrics, any success stories?
Well, I think that's a great question. And I think the first answer is that, hey, we're episode 20 and we're still in it. You and I are pretty savvy leaders sometimes, I think. I know producer Robin certainly is. And if this wasn't making a difference, I'm pretty sure we'd have called it quits a few episodes back, because this is a time commitment that we love for both of us as well. It's hard to kind of measure metrics on things like this. We can tell how many people are downloading the podcast, and that's a significant number, but we can't tell how many people are listening. Another metric is the social media hits and things like that. We have almost 600 likes on Facebook. Most of our posts do pretty well with a good number of shares and things like that. So those are some good metrics as well. Maybe a brilliant website designer can let us know some stats on hits there as well, right, producer Robin? So metric-wise, I think we're doing okay. But what I love about this, Drew, is hearing the stories and the anecdotes about how the podcast is being a bridge. A few episodes ago, we had Karen Almond on. And God bless her, she must have had trouble sleeping or something. And so she went back and listened to all the episodes before she came on. And she, who has been a part of our city for 20, 30 years, was saying things like, oh, I never knew that. Oh, that's interesting. What a great guest. You need to have this person and that person. And that was a real blessing that someone as influential as Karen was receiving something from the podcast. And so I appreciated that. I think it's given us a little bit of a platform to build a bridge. And as we talked about last episode, we'll say again today, our world needs more bridges right now across all kinds of dividing lines. And if we can be a bridge in our community, from our community to our community, then we'll keep doing this. So yeah, I'm really encouraged, and it feels like we're moving forward, and step by step we're growing in voice and influence.
Absolutely. It's funny. I think back to episode 1, and I think I made a joke on that episode. Number 1, just how poorly I sounded and how critical I was of myself in the conversation. It did not feel natural. It did not feel like you and I had found our stride, which is natural. Things take time and practice. But 2 things come to mind. Number 1 is the celebration of our sponsors between Yesha Patel and Platinum Signs, and then being reached out to by Travis Kelly and Kelly Financial Solutions, just to have people who are supportive of what we do in a way that they would actually contribute to helping us promote and put the word out about this podcast. That to me is a huge thing worth celebrating. And then the second part of this, in terms of success stories, is just the interesting stories, as you shared, guests that we've had on, news topics, but just all we've learned. Andy, I feel like it's such a regular thing where we reflect back as we listen to our podcast and just say, wow, I learned so much about a particular component of the city or about a specific person. It has been such a joy to get to know our guests and to open up platforms for our guests to be able to share with others.
And I specifically felt that after the recording of our last episode with the city manager and Commissioner Hufford, I'm like, really? Wow. Well, how does that? And how does that? And how does that? And just hearing the complexities of a city and just kind of digging deeper into it was fascinating. And I agree with you on that and can't wait to hear the rest of that conversation.
That's right. That was a perfect setup. Yes, you have to continue listening to hear part 2 of.
Maybe we're getting better at perfect setups as well, Drew. I don't know.
Boom. Knock it out of the park. Well, thank you. That was a great question, listener. And we'd love to hear from listeners. Please submit your questions to us at the platforms previously mentioned. And now let's turn to our sponsor, Kelly Financial Solutions. Kelly Financial Solutions is about making sure folks find mortgage relationships. If you have a housing need, specifically in regards to identifying, refinancing a mortgage, Travis Kelly and Kelly Financial Services is your solution. They've been around for since 2017. Travis has lived in Casselberry for more than 15 years and has more than 15 years of experience in the mortgage industry. And his goal, his mission, is to connect with clients. He has different abilities to connect with you no matter where you are, whether you're a first-time home buyer or have purchased many homes and are looking to purchase a bigger home. So check out Kelly Financial Services at their website, www.wearecleartoclose.com. That's wearecleartoclose.com, which Travis, who was a guest on our podcast, tells us it's that phrase, we are clear to close, which indicates that you are good to go with the purchase of your home. So hope you check them out. Thanks, and we'll be back with our guest.
All right, welcome back, everybody. We are here for part 2 of our interview with our city manager, Randy Newlon, and Commissioner Bill Hufford. Welcome back to the studio. It's good to have you with us again.
Hey, again, pleasure to be here. I'm glad we could do this again and extend our meaningful conversation.
Thank you for having us back.
2020 has already been quite a year, hasn't it?
Yes, it has.
We have had all kinds of struggles. We're coming out in phase 2. Maybe by the time this drops, phase 3, who knows? Let's hope so, of our recovery plan. Our nation's been in a difficult place with lots of hard issues. And then here in Florida, we're walking right into hurricane season. Drew, how are you feeling about that?
Certainly, there cannot be a bunch of hurricanes, right? Please, Lord, please.
Yeah, we all need to stand on the shore and just blow hard and see if we can push them the other direction. So that's another weight that you guys are carrying as you look at things happening around us that we just can't control. How is Casselberry and how is our county, Randy, preparing for this hurricane season, and what counsel would you give to folks as we prepare for it?
Well, as we're dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic emergency already, the county EOC is working with our own local public safety emergency managers at Casselberry and other cities to coordinate how to best approach it. They are preparing for the hurricane as far as we provide lots of shelters throughout the county, but now that we have to provide shelters and keep people safe from disease, you have to really reformat how you're doing that, expand the number of locations. And we have to credit Seminole County, Alan Harris, our emergency manager, for taking that on. And then we're working closely with them too. The best place for folks to get emergency alerts if something was to happen is to sign up for Alert Seminole with the Seminole County website. And you will get text messages, emails as soon as something happens, and let you know what you need to know to stay safe. But the city is doing the same. We're working on reconfiguring our emergency operations center, which is not a big room, into a place where we can spread out and do our jobs and also be safe from disease.
I see Commissioner Bill Hufford pulling his phone out right now to sign up. Alert Seminole. That's correct. Alert Seminole. That's where we can find that information. Great.
Also, we converse with our citizens through social media as well, and so you can keep up with our messaging through Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We have a YouTube channel with some video messages there. And so we'd love for folks to check it out. Also, we have a newsletter that goes out. We try quarterly. It's electronic, and you can sign up for that at our website, www.casselberry.org/notify me. And there's a sign up there.
That's great. I am signed up. I received the Alert Seminole alerts last year, and they were tremendously helpful. And even when we're not in hurricane season, they alert you about significant incidences happening in the county and the city. Correct. And I love your newsletter, and I appreciate your social media. And kudos to your team and for doing that. I know Donna's a big part of that, and she does a great job.
Donna Gardner, yes. Thank you for mentioning.
Yeah, but Casselberry.org is the best place to see that stuff and sign up.
Yes.
Excellent.
And then, obviously these things take time. They cost money. And so one of the conversations we had in the previous episode was the significance, the importance of our budget. And as our city manager, Randy, you do a phenomenal job of keeping us kind of in line and in tow moving forward. Could you talk to us about the budget, kind of how it's created and what are some streams of income to help formulate that budget?
The city's budget is a very comprehensive thing. Most people see the government and they associate it with the services that you would see on the street. You got folks working on the streets, and you got our police department on patrol. You see what you see, but there's so much more. Our budget last year was about $60 million. Most of it was restricted in some form as to how this money could be used.
That's a critical element. I think explain what that means, because that was when I became the first time as a commissioner. I came from a corporation where I could maybe move some money around a little bit here and there. You can't always do that with the city. So explain what restricted means.
Sure. We divide the city into different buckets of money. We call them funds. And I don't want to bore you with governmental accounting, but we have a utility over here, and the money that's derived from the utility needs to be spent on utility expenses. And so it goes, we bring in $20 million. This income stream is charges for services. We bill our customers. And the bills, the money that's derived from that, about 2/3 of it at least, goes right back into capital renewal and replacement. We have 222 miles of water mains in the city.
222 miles of water mains. Wow.
So just imagine your own plumbing in your house and how impossible that is to conceive of.
Yeah, I've got a leak right now.
We have 222 miles of water mains, and we have actually in the last 10 years replaced about half of them. A lot with federal grants, but that's a different story altogether. But we have to work on this all the time. And so that money is restricted, and that's what we focus on. And then we have a penny sales tax that everyone pays with their transactions in Seminole County. It's for infrastructure, and these monies come back to us against a plan that was presented to the voters, therefore the restrictions. And the plan is focused on transportation projects, and we're focusing on following that plan. We have impact fees that come in, and they are restricted for whatever the impact fee was designed for. And it could be parks, it could be roads, that sort of thing. We have, what else? Garbage collection. We charge people for garbage collection, and we have to pay for garbage collection with that money. We charge stormwater fees, and we have to use that money to maintain our drainage system throughout the city, the water quality of our lakes. And so that money is restricted for that purpose. And so it's in and out. Finally, we get to our general fund, where most of these normal government services come from. And those monies come from diverse places. Everybody first thinks of property taxes, and that is about the one income stream that we have any kind of control over. And generally, the control we exercise is to keep it low. But other than that, we also derive money from charges for franchise fees that come from public utilities. We have sales tax distributions that come back to us from Tallahassee. There's other inter-fund transfers that go around.
Permitting,
other permits, charges for services for different fees and such. The permitting is another one of those restricted monies. Building permitting can only be used for building permitting.
I'm sure you both love these restricted funds, don't you?
Well, and again, that's where the accountability is there, and for citizens to be rest assured, we just don't have the liberty to just arbitrarily pull money out of here to cover there. And so it can get very challenging when we'd love to have some more money on one other bucket, but we can't quite get there. So.
Yeah, no, that's fascinating. And forgive me, in the last episode that I thought it was a lot more simple than that. I realize now how complex it is. And,
yes. And then we spend the money. I've mentioned one, capital renewal and replacement, millions of dollars a year. But another big chunk of the money we spend is on personnel. The services we deliver are through people almost entirely. And there's a lot of money that goes into our police force and other employees throughout the city, our park system, maintenance people, staff at City Hall.
Yeah. In fact, there's a philosophical piece to that too, and we've had this discussion, Randy and I have, but is, who do we hire? How much do we hire? How many people do we hire? And our preference is to hire fewer people, higher quality, that know they're what they're doing day to day, that we can trust, that can just bring things to us. Commission, we're not experts in a lot of this stuff. And so they stand before us and they say, here's why we need to do what we need to do. So we rely heavily on staff, but we can't just fill it full of people. So what we do, we will supplement it or augment staffing when a special project or something comes on. We'll oftentimes seek an expert in the field, a third party. And so what I want guys to realize is that we leverage what talent we have with others that we bring on board when we need it, and then when the project's done, and then they're gone. Plus, anytime you bring somebody on from outside, you typically aren't paying for their additional administrative. Not administrative, but it's benefits, things like that. You're paying just basically a contract there. So again, I'm just so pleased with the way the city tries to leverage what dollars they do have and get the biggest, what we call bang for your buck.
Yeah.
We focus on studying the markets and making sure that the salaries that we pay are competitive, but they also don't lead the market. We actually try to lag the market a little bit. We offer a secure a great place to work. We offer some intangible benefits that give us an edge, and so we're not seeking to overpay, but we're looking to pay competitively, attractively, and maintain a solid, stable workforce of really talented, committed people.
Yeah, and that's just wise leadership, right? I do that in the business I run, Drew. I'm sure it's the same thing here. You want to make the most of people's money, especially when it's money that's come from very store. Yeah.
And having gotten to know a few people within the staff and within the commission, it's exciting to note that there are quality people that are about serving the needs of the citizens of the city. Are there any challenges within that team right now that specifically you can kind of touch on regarding COVID and just the last couple? This is being recorded and put out there in mid-June, but from April, May, how are we doing kind of staff-wise?
Sure thing. I can talk to that. COVID came on very suddenly, and we had to adapt very, very quickly. And it was a disease that no one had an immunity for, and no one really fully understood the threat that it posed.
Yeah.
And we still don't really fully understand, but I think we're getting a little more comfortable with the concept of it. But we have a diverse staff, and they are rightfully concerned about being exposed to it, and so we had to adapt quickly. Some of our staff are really at-risk people, that really should not be exposed to it. So we We were in a position to work a lot of people from home that had never done that before, sent them home with laptop computers, and as long as they had Wi-Fi, and we gave them telephones, and before you knew it, we had just dispersed City Hall. And we worked out social distancing plans, and we unfortunately had to close to the public for a time, but we were able to adapt and provide services still without any interruption. And now, as we reopen, we're in phase 2, as Drew said. We were the first city in Seminole County to actually reopen our lobby so that foot traffic could resume, and we had the proper barriers and everything in place so that people could be protected. And so it's been a process of adapting, but still trying to do the best we can.
I was very impressed, Randy, about how you kind of redeployed some of your staff as well. I got some
pleasantly surprised myself.
Yeah, not just by the ingenuity and innovation to do that, but by the willingness of the staff to say, "Oh yeah, I can do that. I'll help," even if they've been doing tasks during this time which were vital to the city, that weren't what they were hired for. And so I applaud the innovative approach on that. But also it speaks well of our city that so many of our employees said, okay, I'll do what needs to be done to make things work.
We shared with the commission just recently a survey we took of our employees, an anonymous survey, and we asked them a series of questions about how they felt about the city's response to the COVID-19 pandemic, how they felt about themselves about it, their level of concern, and then do they feel safe? Do they feel like they've gotten what they need from the city to be safe? And do they feel like they're able to get their jobs done? And we got very positive results.
It doesn't surprise me at all. Let's move on to a couple of maybe controversial issues. Firstly, there's been some conversation about meeting times for the commission meetings. You currently meet at 5 o'clock,
right,
which isn't for some the easiest time to get there, and there are some who'd like it earlier and some who'd like it later. What would you like to say about that issue?
The meeting time is something that the commission reconsiders from time to time. In my experience, working for the city, we've had start times at 7 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. It bounces around. There are advantages one way or another. When we have our meetings at 7, there's more opportunity for, I guess, the folks in the community to come out. But that was kind of contrasted with the lack of interest that seemed to be realized when the community didn't come out.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we would work our staff late, pay overtime sometimes. It's more difficult for consultants and contractors to get in outside of business hours and wait for their time to speak. And so it was more efficient to be able to do business during business hours, and we moved it to 4 o'clock. And then counter pressure developed, and the commissioners discussed it, and we moved it to 5 o'clock to give more opportunity for the community, but still contrast that with less of a burden for consultants, contractors, and staff. And so that's where we are now, but honestly, the commission can reconsider start times, and staff will respond and do whatever is directed. And sometimes that is associated with elections.
Yeah.
After an election, the new commissioners join and they have a discussion, and we'll see where the consensus lands.
Yeah, and I think another aspect of this too is the agenda itself. Within the start time is what do we cover when. And so a lot of the things we do up front are more administrative nature, where we necessarily don't get a lot of input from the citizens. And as the agenda progresses, there's more and more things that they might want to comment on and do that. Plus, if at any point in time there's a citizen has a particular concern, they can express it to us and to the city clerk, and we can become aware of that. So, we just say, well, I'm sorry, it doesn't fit the agenda, so out it goes, but we would be very sensitive to that. And then finally, we have on the agenda is if there's, even if whatever topics we've covered on the agenda, there's the last thing that's brought up is any comments you want to make that have not been addressed. So you might look at the 5 o'clock, but really we don't get to that one until 6 o'clock or even later. So we try to be sensitive to what the questions might be. Maybe is there some volatility to this decision? All decisions usually require 2 readings, so it's not something that's done all at once. So we do it once, and somebody goes, "Oh, I didn't hear about that," and then we get feedback. And so by the next meeting, which is a couple of weeks, maybe even 3 weeks, then we can readdress it. And staff will come up and say, "Since I brought this to you the last time, there have been no further changes," and so it can appear very routine, but we haven't heard any feedback. We haven't heard anything back from the people. So it's important that they stay involved and stay included, but we have no intention to try to avoid things that would be of interest to the citizens.
But both Drew and I are in professions as well where it's impossible to please everybody. Mm-hmm. So you do the best you can to please as many as you can. Right. And I appreciate that you're doing that on this issue. I know it's not an easy one.
Yeah, and guys, it seems over and over in both last week's conversation and today that there's a lot of thought and real care about the citizens of the city, as well as how do we most efficiently, most effectively use our money and resources to better the city. And again, just don't want to pat you on the back too much, but really genuinely mean that. Thank you. Thank you for your care and your stewardship, as Andy mentioned. So one of the things, Randy, you mentioned at the beginning of today's conversation was about the water and the understanding, miles and miles of the water system. Now, the city of Casselberry is unique in that we have our own water utility system. It can be a good revenue generator for the city, a great asset, but of course, in maintenance and upkeep, that means that we, the city, and probably your office is on the front end of receiving some complaints, right, when the water bill is too high. Can you just explain briefly to the listeners how the process of water works?
I'll try, yes. We do. We've got a big utility here in relative to the size of our city. Our utility serves customers, almost the exact same area outside of the city as within the city's 7 square miles. So that does help, because some of that revenue that's generated does go back to the citizens and the services we provide them. But we draw water from the aquifer. That's our source of water. It's a natural resource. It's precious, and it's heavily, heavily regulated. And so we get a permit. Just like people ask us for permits, we get a permit, and we have to justify what we want to pump from the aquifer. And we're watched, our quality of water that we produce and distribute is watched. But we have a duty to encourage conservation. And there's other ways to do it, but most cities do it through price structure. And so our listeners can't see this, but at the end of this table is a gallon of water. And you have a sense of what that cost? Couple bucks?
$2, $3.
I got no idea. That's bad, isn't
it? Our rates for water begin with $1.90 for 1,000 gallons of water. Wow. Each 1,000 gallons consumed is $1.90. Mm-hmm. But after the first 4,000 gallons of water you use, well, then we have to raise the rates, and so it gets a little more expensive. And so for the next 4,000 gallons, each 1,000 costs only $3.15. That's it. Then from 8,000 to 20,000 gallons of total consumption, and most homes don't, it becomes $5.32 a gallon. And if you're really running through the water and irrigating yards and just out of control, and you're using more than 20,000 gallons, then it gets to be $8.55 for each 1,000 gallons of water that's consumed. Now, if you're on sewer is more expensive than water, and so that just gets bigger. But a lot of times, folks, and this was something that we experience sometimes seasonally when we're in a drought, and people are watering their grass really heavily and they don't realize what they're consuming, then they can come up with some shocking bills. And sometimes folks will have water leaks that they don't know, a flapper valve on a toilet. They don't realize the impact of it, and all of a sudden it's just extraordinary because it's like leaving a faucet on 24 hours a day for weeks, even months we've seen. So anyway, I'm just trying to express that right now during COVID-19, we've had a lot of people out of work, forced to stay home, and now they're using even more water, plus the drought conditions we were under until just recently. And they were seeing shocking bills. And it's hard for folks to understand because they don't really understand the structure.
Yeah.
And because of that, the City Commission has allowed us to do adjustments to bills all along. And generally, when we adjust a bill, it's because we know what happened. Someone has volunteered that they had a leak, and they brought in somebody to repair it, and it's done. And so we can interpret what happened. And if the water didn't go down the sewer, we don't have to charge for sewer. And if it did go down the sewer, we can lower the rate, to the lower tiers from the higher tiers so that we can give them relief. But most recently, the Commission called for, and we responded by developing a policy that allows us to give relief to customers who just don't know what happened. And sometimes that happens. They've got a huge bill. They don't understand it. They swear it's nothing they did, and we believe them. But the meters are accurate, and it is what it is. Yeah. And so the Commission gave us the authority to give adjustments to customers who just ask for relief. So they can take one high bill, and we will adjust it down to the lower tiers, no questions asked. But we don't do that but once every 3 years. So we can't have frequent flyers coming back for this. Yeah. But we have an outlet for folks to get relief, even if we can't agree on what happened. Yeah. Does that make sense? We're trying to be compassionate.
I think that's incredibly benevolent. Yeah, and I thank our commissioners for doing that. Honestly, I just assumed it was a case of, turning on the tap and that was it. But the pricing structure and the volume and, I've had some loose flaps in my toilet too, which have been incredibly costly. And again, my first reaction is, how dare they do this? This is a bigger bill. But hang on a sec, let's calm down and figure out what's going on. And I realize that's a very complex process, not that you're imposing, but that you're dealing with and trying to make simple and helpful for us. And appreciate that.
We try, but my saying is nothing's ever simple. Everything's
Yeah.
How many wells do we have? Don't we have 3?
Right now we have 3 water plants, yes.
Yeah, not just one, but we have 3 throughout the city.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got to maintain all of those where we extract the water, purify it, and then run it through the system.
One is actually offline right now, and it's being completely refurbished. It will be back online in the fall.
I am learning so much.
Andy, I feel like the podcast that we've created now, it's become just about what do we learn about science, about business.
That's right. I don't know if anyone's listening or enjoying it, but I'm certainly become a smarter person because of it. Unfortunately, though, we do have to wrap up. This is one of our longer episodes, and that's great, and we could talk more, and we'll have to have you back another time to talk. But thank you both so much for educating us and informing us and helping us to peer into the complexities of leadership that you both exercise so well within our city.
Yeah, thank you for leading so well. We really, really appreciate you guys and for your time.
Oh, you're very kind. Thank you.
Probably a parting thought here is, and I think
a quick parting thought?
Semi-quick. If I'm interrupted, it'll take longer, of course. But one of the uniqueness of our city, and then I wanted to tell this with Randy here, is his willingness to partner with other organizations. If you wanted to get something more done, one option is you build a bigger city. Right. That means more taxes and more of this, that, and the other. Or an option is you partner with other groups. And he has been very willing and open. It's a risk because they lose control to work with the chamber, with nonprofits, with the churches and stuff to get things done that would otherwise take a taxpayer's dollars to do. And so that's not, so there's a lot more coordination involved. There's a lot more misunderstanding, and especially the number of organizations that we have. So, but from my standpoint as a commissioner, I'm grateful for his attitude and the staff's attitude towards welcoming other organizations to be a part of what we try to accomplish. And I think the results are there. People have often commented, how did you get all this done with the size of city that you have? And much that's due because of the cooperation we have and working together.
Thanks for sharing that, Bill. That's important because that just highlights that we are a community. Right. We're in it together, and it takes all of us to make a difference.
That's right.
Thank you both for making a difference.
Great.
Thank you.
Wow. A deep well of information and wisdom. Thank you so much, City Manager Randy Newlon and City Commissioner Bill Hufford. We loved the conversations that we had with you guys. Andy, that's a lot to digest and intake. You got to close out the show, sir. Give us an inspirational moment.
Yeah, I don't know if I can. I'm still thinking through some of the comments that were made, but it's a good job we got show notes to help me, right? But our inspirational moment today comes from Karen Almond, who's the chair of our school board and a guest and a listener of What's Up Casselberry. And she said this in her interview with us, Drew, and I've been reflecting on it a lot, especially as we continue to battle racism and speak out for justice in our world. This is what Karen said several weeks ago about her leadership. She said, "Be a good listener. A good ear can help a person more than we realize. Be a good listener. A good ear can help a person more than we realize." And boy, was she right on the money with that. I heard her say that during the interview, and I've tried to build that into some of my life and counseling, especially during these difficult times, that my first role is to listen. Because when I listen, I really get to hear people. And when I get to hear people, I can really start to understand their heart. And when I start to understand their heart, I can understand better how to care for them and love them. But it all starts with being a good listener. So thank you, Karen, for those words of wisdom. One more time, be a good listener. A good ear can help a person more than we realize.
I hear that. And yes, thank you, Karen. Thank you, Andy. Folks, we hope you enjoyed this episode of the What's Up Casselberry podcast, a casual conversation about our community. This podcast was produced today by Robin Kepi and James Bittner. Music provided by Jeremy Birdsall, graphics by Christian Moscoso. For more information, please check out our website, www.whatsupcasselberry.com, our Facebook page, Instagram, or podcast feed, all with the name What's Up Casselberry. Please like and subscribe, invite a friend to join us, and we'll see you next week. Until then, have a great week.